All right, I think we should be live now. What is going on, guys? Here to talk about the 5-game NBA slate. We got 30 minutes to lock, so as always, we'll go over what we know so far. We can look at some numbers in Bovada, what the over/unders and spreads are looking like. We can talk about players, their prices, and then I can give you guys my core kind of cash game plays, and then we can get to questions at the end. So let's start with the beginning of the day here. Jaylen Brown looks like he's going to be available to play, so it looks like Boston is fully healthy. Boston's the team, at least on Draftkings. I don't think it's going to pick up any ownership. Let's see. DeMar DeRozan doubtful. That was pretty big news. So him being out makes some of those Spurs much more viable. Right? Aldridge gets an enormous boost. He's going to be really chalky. But guys like DeJounte Murray, I got like Lonnie Walker started. He's viable. You could look at like Rudy Gay as a pivot off Lonnie Walker. I don't hate that. And even like the value guards, Mills, Forbes, White. Those are all guys that are very, very much in play. Let's see. A lot of stuff is Wednesday. Zion probable. Looks like he's going to be good to go. Giannis out for tomorrow as well. So that is big news. I wonder if I'm guessing they priced up Bledsoe and Middleton, but we'll see. The big news we're waiting on here is Brandon Ingram. Game time decision. That really does change a lot, to be honest. If Brandon Ingram plays, I think those Pelicans guys are all solid. But if Brandon Ingram misses, I really like Drew, Lonzo, Zion. I'd probably try to get at least one of those guys in my lineup. So, this is literally changes the whole complexion of the slate. Brandon Ingram news. Right now, I don't have any Pelicans in. I'm assuming Brandon Ingram's going to play. Obviously, if he does get ruled out, I'm going to switch it up. I'm probably going to try to get at least one of those guys in there with Drew, Lonzo, or Zion. Also, pretty big news here is the Sixers changing their starting lineup. So, Josh Richardson is now moved in the starting lineup. I think he's a viable punt play. I don't think a lot of people play him because a lot of people are going to gravitate towards the Spurs value. Now, Richardson's been terrible, I know, and I don't really have a good grasp of how many minutes he's going to play because he was playing big minutes before he got injured, and then he came back and they kind of limited him to like 15 and like 18, I believe. But they also have more bodies now, right? Burks, Glenn Robinson, so I really don't know how many minutes Josh Richardson's going to play, and Korkmaz is starting after 2 back-to-back 30-point games. So if you want to ride the hot hand of Korkmaz, I don't hate that idea. He has been on fire. And then, Horford is going to be available off the bench. Let's see. Some of the stuff just came in for Wednesday. Wizards, Smith, Beal, Bonga, Rui, and Mahimi. All right. So let's take a look at some of these numbers here. Just let me refresh this. So we have the Bulls, Wizards sitting at 230.5. The Wizards are 3.5-point favorites. Clippers, 76ers, 228.5. The Clippers are 2-point favorites. Portland and the Pelicans, again, 241 over/under. 3.5-point favorites the Pelicans are. Spurs, OKC, 220. The Thunder favored by 9. And the Celtics, Rockets right now sitting at 232. The Rockets favored by 2 points. So let's just start. We'll go team by team here. And then, again, I can give you guys my core cash game plays. Kind of dependent on pretty big news of Brandon Ingram's status, but all right, let's start with Chicago. So Chicago, I actually think there are some viable plays besides LaVine. Now I do like LaVine a good amount at 8.2 as a spend up. What we know with him is he's going to play big minutes. He'll probably get around 35 or so, maybe a little bit more. We know he's going to shoot the ball a lot, right? He's a guy that has been getting more peripheral stats. Really good matchup. Those are all the positives. And 8.2K. Seems like he seems a little bit too cheap. So I think Zach LaVine is very, very much in play as a spend up. Right now, though, I think I slightly prefer Embiid as a spend up. I think I slightly prefer a guy like a Whiteside as a spend up. And then again, possibly the Pelicans guys if Ingram does get ruled out. But Zach LaVine is up there. You're gonna have to make some tough decisions for sure. But I do like his upside a lot at that price. And then there are some value plays that I think are viable. Normally, Chicago's a team. It's kind of like LaVine, and that's it for me. But I think Thad Young is a safe option at this price. Now, it makes it a little bit tricky because I would much rather get to Gallinari for an extra $500 compared to Thad Young. Now, it's not saying Thad Young can't outscore Gallinari, but I think Gallinari is the much better play if we're talking just optimal plays, right? So Thad Young is definitely viable. You can play both those guys. I think both are pretty safe options. But if you're going to make me pick between one of those two, I would much prefer getting to Gallinari. Again, we still have no Laurie and Wendell Carter Jr. A guy like Hutchinson is actually okay too. Right, if you want to fade the Spurs value, I think the Spurs value is going to be chalky today with no DeRozan. I think you can fade it just because it's Popovich, right? And no one's still going to play like huge minutes. I think Popovich ran a 10-man rotation. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he dusted off someone else. I think he dusted off Bellinelli last game. So it's not like those Spurs value guys are all of a sudden going to play huge minutes. It's just, the usage goes up for those guys. But I think you can, I don't think I would go crazy with my Spurs value. I think maybe one or two, maybe, of those really cheap guys. But if you want to fade, you could definitely go with some of these Chicago guys that are a little bit more expensive, but I think they're fine plays. So Hutchinson's viable. I think I bypassed Satoransky. I think he's a pretty good play at this price. It's a revenge spot. We probably get around 30 minutes. So I think Sato would probably be my favorite cheap option here on Chicago. And then, Kobe White's always viable for GPPs. He can get all hot off the bench. Cornette, I mean, if you play him, know what you're getting into. He is pretty scoring dependent for a big. He has a very, very low floor. I think he was pretty chalky in the game against the Pelicans, put up 7 fancy points. But also, if he's knocking down those threes, he can put up, over 30. So he's viable, cheap option for sure, too. Just know what you're getting into. He has a very, very low floor. I think that's basically it, though. So all in all, Levine definitely in play as a spend up. I think Thad Young's safe, but I slightly prefer Gallinari at a similar price. Satoransky, probably my favorite cheap option there at 4.9. But you also can consider a guy like Hutchinson, maybe even Kobe White for GPPs. On the Washington side, so I think my favorite play for his price is Mo Wagner. Now, the concern is just the minutes. Now, coming back from injury, he's played 12, 18, and 24 minutes. So those minutes have been going up. I could see, I don't think it's necessarily secure he's going to play 24 minutes, but, if Mahimi's playing well, I think they could give the minutes to Mahimi. Now, Mahimi's minutes have been way down. He's at 3.6. He's played 18 minutes the last couple of games. So, yeah, it's definitely a little bit risky because, I don't think Mo Wagner's locked in 24 minutes. But I think if he gets minutes into the mid-20s, I think he's a really solid value play at this price. So, do like him a good amount there at that price. Other options, Beal at the top. More contrarian for me at 9.5. He can certainly get you there, but I prefer the likes of Embiid. I prefer the likes of Whiteside to Brad Beal. And then, let's see. Bertans is okay at 5.4. I think I can only go there as part of a game stack, though. Ish Smith at 4.8. I guess it's you can land one of these cheaper guys for Washington. I guess they're kind of in the same range as the Chicago cheap guys, but I think my favorite play here would be Mo. He would be, my priority cheap guy if I was going to play one of these cheap Washington guys. I think I like his upside. I know what I'm getting into, right? Those minutes aren't necessarily secure for Mo Wagner. I would not be utterly surprised if he plays 15 minutes, but if he gets that higher end, if he gets 25, he's a guy that does have upside. So yeah, maybe not a cash game play for Mo, but definitely like his upside for GPPs. Rui's fine to it at 4.8. We'll probably get 25 to 30 minutes. He's been pretty solid, so I'm okay with him. But yeah, that basically wraps it up for Washington. So move on to the Clippers. Clippers are a team I have very, very little interest in. There's just, again, I talked about in my video, there's so many mouths to feed. You have Kawhi, Paul George, Lou Williams, Montrez, Marcus Morris. We know he's kind of a black hole. He's going to shoot a lot when he's out there. Even Zubac will do a little bit offensively. I don't think I get to anyone here. If I was going to play someone, it would be Paul George at 8K. If you wanted to load up on the 76ers, maybe play Embiid and Ben Simmons and run it back with Paul George, that's viable. But I can't get to any of these guys for cash games. I think there's just better cash game plays. Again, Embiid, a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge, Whiteside I like. I guess there's slight concern that Whiteside's minutes could be limited because Portland does, or the Pelicans run like running small ball. But all in all, there's literally nothing I like here. If I was going to play someone, it would be Paul George, but that's really it. On the Philly side, a little bit different story. I really like Embiid at 9.1. I think my favorite spend up of the day. Had a huge game the last game at Chicago, 64 fancy points. I'm not scared of Zubac or undersized Montrezl Harrell on defense, so this is a really good matchup, right? Like they're not going to throw Paul George or Kawhi on him, so Joel Embiid gets the best matchup of any of the starters. He's a guy that's probably going to get 30 to 35 minutes in a close game. They're playing at home too, which is a boost. Philly at home has been much better. Embiid is probably my favorite spend up of the day right now for that price. I think he's about a 10K player. So right now I think he's about $1,000 too cheap. I love Embiid at that price. You could also look to Ben Simmons at 8.6. Definitely viable as well. He's playing huge minutes, close to 40 a game. If you want to pivot off Embiid to Ben Simmons, that's completely fine with me. I slightly give the edge to Embiid over Ben Simmons, but it's close. And then Tobias Harris at 6.2. I guess, you could look to him if you're a guy that's into revenge game narratives. But we have Horford coming out the bench, so I don't think I get to Horford. Korkmaz, after 2 straight 30-point games, is now in the starting lineup. I'm personally still not going to play him, but I completely get it if you want to. He's shot the ball 13 of 17 and 12 of 17 last couple games. If you think he's going to continue to shoot like this, play him. Right? Like I'm a guy that likes buying low on guys. I think him shooting this well, him inserting the starting lineup, it's going to inflate his ownership. So this is a spot I'm okay getting away from. But like I said, I am completely fine playing Korkmaz if you guys want to. Like I said, if you like riding hot streaks, this guy's been on fire. So I get it completely. I'm not doing it, but he is viable. And we've seen the upside, right? 50 fantasy point upside if he's shooting the ball really well. He's put up basically 50 last couple of games. So, Korkmaz is definitely viable. A guy like Josh Richardson I have interest in as well, 3.8. So, right after that injury, they brought him off the bench, played 15 and 19 minutes. I'm just a little bit worried because they have Glenn Robinson. They have Alec Burks now, who's definitely going to play. They have Korkmaz. They have Shake Milton, who'll probably get some minutes. So I don't really know how many minutes Josh Richardson's going to play. I think, you can bank on the fact that maybe this is the game where they just unleash him and play him like 30 minutes. If that's the case, I think he'd be like the top value play. But I think there's also a chance he starts and plays like low 20s minutes. So it's really, I'm kind of torn here. I think you can take a shot and just hope they extend him, hope they give him minutes into like the low 30s. If that would be the case, again, I think he'd be one of my favorite value plays. So a little undecided there in Richardson because I have no idea what the minutes are going to be like for him. Everyone else, though, Burks coming out the bench, we don't know how many minutes he's going to play. We know he's going to play. We just don't know how many minutes. So, that's like a punt GPP option. It's risky for sure. But, if Korkmaz or Josh Richardson are not playing well, maybe Burks gets extended. That's really it, though. So, yeah, all in all, Joel Embiid, definitely my favorite play here. I'm finding it in Ben Simmons at the top as well. Don't really see myself getting a Horford coming out the bench. Korkmaz, if you want to ride the hot streaks, is fine. Then Josh Richardson is playable as a cheap option. I just have no idea how many minutes he's going to play. Let's move on to the Spurs. So the Spurs are going to be probably one of the more chalky teams of the night. I think them and the Trailblazers are going to be the chalk tonight. So with no DeRozan, Aldridge is going to be actually the chalk. I think he's probably going to be the highest owned player of the day. 6.7K for good reason, though. He's going to have to do a lot offensively here. Just in that last game against Denver, had 35 minutes, 50 fantasy points. This is a better spot against OKC. So, yeah, for cash games, I think you play Aldridge and move on. For GPPs, you can make an argument to fade. I think it's about a 10-point spread, 9 points. It's Spurs are on a back-to-back. This game could turn into a blowout, no DeRozan. So you can make an argument to fade for GPPs. If I was playing cash games, I would play Aldridge. I think he's a pretty safe option there with no DeRozan. Now let's talk about the cheap plays. So my favorite, I don't really know if you call him a cheap play, but DeJounte Murray, 5.2, played 34 minutes that last game, had 37 fantasy points. I don't think we expect 34 again, but I think we probably get close to 30 with no DeMar DeRozan. Now, you never know, right? This is Popovich. It's, if DeJounte Murray's not playing well, I would not be surprised if they limit him to 22 minutes and just give the minutes like Derek White or Patty Mills. Again, this is Popovich. He is pretty unpredictable as far as rotations go. So it's not locked in stone, but I think if DeJounte Murray does get close to 30 minutes, I think he really stands out at that price. And then we get into the territory of all guys we can take shots on. Now, I don't really think any of these guys stand out as a great play. I think Lonnie Walker is going to be the chalk at min price. I get it, right? He started to play 27 minutes, but playing alongside these starters, he really hasn't had a big upside game. So yeah, I'm fine eating the Lonnie Walker chalk if you want to. You can also pivot though, right? There's a lot of guys you can pivot to, like a guy like Rudy Gay, a direct pivot at 3K. Now, he probably comes on the bench. I don't think he gets as many minutes, but Rudy Gay is a guy that can get 25 or so fancy points in about 20 minutes. So I'm okay going there if you want to. Bellinelli got dusted off. I don't think he played enough minutes. I think he played 19 minutes. Probably not for me. Jakob Poeltl, I think that he got a little bit extended because of Nikola Jokic. I don't think I get to him either. But guys like Forbes, right? Trey Lyles, what were his minutes last game? He played 29. Like Trey Lyles' minutes are so up and down, so unpredictable. Again, kind of like I talked about, Popovich rotations are very unpredictable. 17, 34, 18, 29. So your guess is as good as mine how many minutes he plays. He could play, I think, anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes. Obviously, if he hits that high end, he could be a really solid value play. If he hits that low end, not so much. So it's just in a pool of guys that I would take shots on, right? I don't think one really stands out. Like Derek White, again, Bryn Forbes, Patty Mills even. Like these are all guys in a pool that if I was making multiple lineups, I would like have bits and pieces to. Again, I don't really think one of these really cheap guys stands out. I don't. But I'm fine. If you want to eat the Lonnie Walker chalk, that's okay if he starts. If he comes off the bench, I don't think I would do it. Again, other guys you can consider, Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, Forbes, Lyles, White. Those guys are all certainly in play. I wouldn't go crazy with my Spurs exposure just because they're going to run probably a 10-man rotation, maybe 11. But I think probably for cash games, I think the safe way to go about it would be play Aldridge and play one of the value guys. You could play two, but I think for cash games, I'd play Aldridge and one value guys. That's the way I would go about it. On the OKC side, OKC is a team that I don't think is going to be that high owned, but I like some plays here. Now, Gallinari is the guy I talked about for cash games, right? 5.8 just seems too cheap for him. He has a pretty high floor, right? Like I don't think Gallinari is going to go out and like bust for you. I think he's got a floor of about 25 with upside of about 40 or so. So he stands out as a really solid cash game play. One of my favorite cash game plays for sure there at that price. But also the guards, like CP3, SGA, and Schroeder, I think go pretty unowned. I have some interest there. I do. All three, I think, are a little bit underpriced. I think Chris Paul and SGA would be the cash game plays, maybe Schroeder for GPPs. Adams at 5.5, I get it, but not going to be the way I go. I really like Embiid. I like Whiteside a good amount. So yeah, that basically wraps it up. Let's talk about Portland and New Orleans. We got about 12 minutes to go, so I'll try to speed this up. On the Portland side, Lillard definitely plays to spend up. He's been playing unbelievable basketball, playing huge minutes, shooting the ball a ton. Great matchup here. The slight concern is, Drew Holiday, pretty solid defender, but Lillard's upside is through the roof, so you got to consider him. Whiteside, one of my favorite plays here at 8.1. My only slight concern with him is just, the Pelicans do like running small ball, so maybe this is a game where Whiteside could get limited. You never know. That is in the back of my mind, but normally, I would say 85 to 90% of the time, Whiteside's a guy that's going to get 35 minutes. So I'm banking the fact that they give him the minutes. If that's the case at 8.1 in a really up-tempo game, I really like Whiteside. Also have some good amount of interest in CJ McCollum at 6.4. If you don't want to get to Lillard, if you want to save some money, I think CJ is very viable, playing huge minutes. Again, great matchup. Again, I think Drew Holiday does guard Damian Lillard, so CJ should get a better matchup. Melo's even viable, 4.9. You could definitely make a mini game stack here, run like a couple of these Portland guys, maybe like Whiteside, CJ, and like Melo, and run it back with a couple of New Orleans guys. Don't hate that idea. Ariza's even a viable 4.3, but he kind of has to knock down those threes. But I think again, 4.3K does make him viable. Gary Trent, probably not for me. I think the price is coming up. He's been shooting the ball unreal, kind of in the territory of Korkmaz, right? Because just how well he's been playing, I think that's going to inflate the ownership, and I think I'm fine getting away from him. We also have Anthony Simons coming back, so that's probably less minutes for Gary Trent. But, if you're a guy that likes riding the hot streaks, I'm fine with Trent. I'm fine with Korkmaz. Just telling you, I'm not going there today. As far as the Pelicans go, this is strictly dependent on Drew news. Let me refresh Fantasy Labs. We got 10 minutes, so I got to hurry here. Lonnie Walker will start for injured DeMar DeRozan. Okay, like I said, I'm fine eating the chalk there. But yeah, strictly dependent on Ingram news. If Ingram plays, I just all think they're okay options. I don't know if anyone really stands out, but if Ingram misses, really like Drew, really like Zion, really like Lonzo, would also have interest in Favors. And then Hart and JJ Redick would become viable value options. So it's kind of hard to break down right now because it's strictly dependent on Ingram news. If he misses, I would probably try to get one of Drew, Zion, or Lonzo in there, and then maybe one of those value guys like Hart, Favors, or JJ. But let's move on to Boston, Houston last game. So this is a game I don't think is gonna be that high owned. The Boston guys I think all go very low owned. Tatum, Kemba, Hayward, Brown, Smart. I think my favorite play probably would be Jaylen Brown or Hayward just for their prices. But I don't think a lot of those guys. I don't think any of them are going to be high owned. If I was going to play a Boston guy, I think it would be one of those cheap guys in a really good spot. That basically wraps up for Boston. So again, I think my favorite plays there would be those wings, Hayward, Brown. I don't really think I get to Tatum or Kemba on this slate. Tice or Cantor, not for me either. They're going to split the center minutes. Let's move on to Houston. So Houston, Harden, Westbrook, definitely viable as spend-up options. I would prefer Westbrook. I think he's the safer play, the more optimal play for $1,500 less. If you want to take a shot in a low-owned Harden, that's always viable. I'm not getting into any of these value guys like Covington. I think he's going to be somewhat popular. I will definitely fade that. When Westbrook or Harden are healthy, I don't really get to any of the value Houston guards or value Houston guys at all. So Westbrook probably my favorite play there. I think he's the optimal play of between him and Harden. But you could pivot off Westbrook ownership to get Harden in there. I think Harden needs to be a lot lower owned. All right, that basically wraps up. Again, let me refresh one more time, then I can give you guys my core cash game plays, and then we can get to questions. So, right now, I'll give you guys my plays on the fact that Ingram plays, but this would change if Ingram misses, because I would try to get one of those guys in there. Let's do it. Cash game plays. Embiid is spend up right now. Love him. I don't think he's going to be that high owned. Also like Whiteside a lot at his price, 8.1K. Aldridge as a safe option. I think he's really, really safe at 6.7K. And then lastly, it's either CJ or Gallinari for me. I guess for cash games, I don't know. I think I like the upside a little bit. I don't know. It's close. It's really close to CJ or Gallinari. I'll go CJ there at that price, but you would definitely go Gallinari. You can play both those guys. This would change, though, again, if Ingram misses. If Ingram does miss, I would probably maybe take CJ out and try to get Zion, Drew, or Lonzo in there. So, And then as far as, value plays go, there's the Spurs value. There's Mo Wagner. There's possibly guys like, Favors, Hart, JJ Redick would be more viable if Ingram can't go. Like a Trevor Ariza is a viable punt option. There's Satoransky. There's a lot of viable cheap options you guys can take shots on. There's no real standout value play. That's why I don't have any standout value in my core like there was last night. There's so many good value plays. That's why I included them in the core. Tonight, not as much. There's no really standout value play. But if I was going to build a core right now for cash games, that's how I would start it. Again, things would change, though. If Ingram does miss, I would get one of those Pelicans guys in there. So let's get some questions here. Whiteside and SGA or Lillard and Tucker? I will definitely go Whiteside, SGA there. Who like more, Ariza or Wagner? I like the upside a little bit more with Mo Wagner. Now, Ariza is going to play way more minutes, and Wagner's minutes. Mo is more of a GPP play, in my opinion. But I like his upside a bit more. I'm stacking OKC guys and Spurs with Zion and Embiid. Perfectly fine with me, right? Those OKC guys all seem a little bit underpriced. I do like Zion and Embiid, especially Zion if Ingram can't go. Bertans, Ish, and Satoransky or Hutchison, pick two for cash. So I would go Satoransky and probably Satoransky and Bertans. I think that's the way I would do it. Let's see. I'm going with DeJounte Murray, Levine, Gallinari, Aldridge, Rui, Josh Richardson, Zion, and Whiteside. Like it a lot. Again, a guy like Josh Richardson, another one of those value guys you can definitely play. There's a decent amount of guys we can take shots on for sure. I just don't think one really stands out. If I was really confident about a value play, I would throw him in here, but I'm not over the top in any value plays. How do you rank the Spurs value? Again, that's a really, really tough question. I would just say, take shots on guys. If the guy who's going to be really chalky is Lonnie Walker at min price. He's going to start, so he's going to be high owned. If he does have an upside game, you're going to be in trouble for cash games because he's going to be probably, somewhere between 40 to 60% owned. Again, I think you can fade him, but if I was playing cash games, I guess Lonnie Walker, just because if he does go off, you're going to be in trouble. Because he's going to be the most high owned Spur guy, value guy. So yeah, it's really tough to answer that because no one really stands out in the Spurs. I do like Rudy Gay as a pivot. Right now, I currently have Rudy Gay in over Lonnie Walker just because I'm fine taking that risk. Hayward or Jaylen Brown? Probably Hayward with Jaylen Brown coming back from injury. Thoughts for cash? Lonzo, Korkmaz, Gallo, Aldridge, Embiid, Forbes, Rui, and Whiteside. Perfectly fine with me. McCollum, Whiteside, or Beal and DeJounte for GPP. I would go McCollum, Whiteside. Can you run Walker, Murray, and LMA in the same lineup? Yes, I think you can. Like I said, I think I would go for cash, one value in Aldridge, but you can go, two value plays there with Aldridge. Satoransky, Levine, Mills, Hutcherson, Zion, Bertans, and Embiid, Aldridge. No real issues there, right? Favorite 3 Pelicans ranked if Ingram's out. I think it would be. That's a tough one too. I think it would be Zion, Drew, Lonzo, but it's really close. I would rank it Zion 1, Drew 2, Lonzo 3. Do you like Tobias over Gallo? I would go Gallo for cash games, for sure. Gallinari seems like the safer option. Now, Tobias is probably a guy that does have more upside, but he's a little bit scoring dependent. I think Gallo for cash, Tobias for GPPs. Lonnie should get 15 to 20 with 30-point upside. Yeah, like I said, he is going to be really, really popular. So I'm fine eating the chalk there. I don't think he's going to go crazy. If he does and you fade him, you're probably in trouble. Again, I am fading him for GPPs just because I think the ownership is going to be a little bit too high. I like the direct pivot to Rudy Gay, but that's a riskier option. Trent or Lonnie Walker? Well, if you can get to Gary Trent, I would try to get to Gary. I would prefer Gary Trent over Lonnie Walker. Zion, CP3, or Embiid and Thad. That's kind of dependent on Ingram. I would go Zion and CP3 if Ingram's out. If Ingram is in, I still probably go Zion, CP3. Korkmaz or Rui? I would personally go Rui just because Korkmaz is very scoring dependent. Don't get cute with Gay. No tilting tonight. Yeah, I'm not getting cute. I think Rudy Gay is a good pivot off Lonnie Walker. Like last night for sure, that was a mistake with me playing Boucher over RHJ because the Raptors the Raptors starters always had huge minutes. I knew that. That was me trying to get too cute. This is a situation where Lonnie Walker could play 20 minutes, Rudy Gay could play 25. You never know. It's Greg Popovich, so there's no guarantee there with minutes. Westbrook, Murray, Lonnie, Levine, Jaylen Brown, Hutchinson, Aldridge, Tice, and Embiid for cash on FanDuel. Yeah, I don't really know what Tice's price is on FanDuel. If he's cheap, I'm okay with that. If he's like $5K in Draftkings, I wouldn't play him on Draftkings. Rank Westbrook, Lillard, and Simmons. I would probably go, Lillard, Westbrook, Simmons. Can you play Embiid and Simmons together? Yeah, you can. If I was going to do that, though, no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say you have to run it back for one of the Clippers guys because the Clippers are so deep. So, yeah, I think you can do it. It's more contrarian. I don't think I would do that for cash games, but that's viable. GPP line, DeJounte, Levine, Ariza, Bertans, Aldridge, Lonzo, Zion, Steven Adams, hoping for another great night. No issue there. Tobias Revenge. Yep, Tobias Revenge games. Again, if you want to pivot off of a chalkier Gallinari, you can. I like Gallinari more for cash. 3,600 utility. Probably one of those Spurs guys. I don't really know what else is down there. 3,600. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's just got to be one of those Spurs guys. I don't really have a great answer for which one I like the most. Melo or Favors. I would go Favors there, but it's close. And Favors would get a boost, I think, with Ingram out. I'm going Forbes over Lonnie. Yeah, that is completely fine going Forbes over Lonnie. Lonnie's going to be a lot higher owned. So I'm definitely okay. Again, I'm fading Lonnie Walker. I'm not playing him. I need at least 3 Bulls with how bad that Wizards defense is. Yeah, if you need at least 3 Bulls, then I would go Satoransky, Levine, and probably Thad Young. Those would be my 3 Bulls if you're going to make me pick 3. Until I hear injury news, I'm running with Westbrook, Forbes, Lonnie Walker, Gallo, Embiid, Lonzo, J. Rich, and Zion. Perfectly fine with that. Westbrook or James Harden. Again, I think Westbrook is the more optimal play for $1,500 less. So I'd go Westbrook there. Schroeder, Lyles, or Gallinari and Forbes. That's a close one too. I think I'll go Gallinari, Forbes, just because Lyles' minutes are so up and down, whereas Forbes probably gets 25 or so. Trent, Embiid, or McCollum, Zion. I'll go McCollum, Zion right now. Go Harden. Yeah, Harden's gonna go low owned. Harden is gonna be very, very low owned. Rui or Mo. I'll give the edge. Well, I think Rui for cash, Mo for GPPs. I like Mo's upside a good amount at his price. Never fade Harden. SGA, Levine, J. Rich, Aldridge, Embiid, Walker, Trent, and Whiteside. Locked. Good info content. Thank you. Yeah, of course, man. Let's see. Simmons, Walker, Hutch, Hashimura, Whiteside, Satoransky, Aldridge, Embiid. Fine with me. White, Lillard, Walker, Levine, Brown, Hutchinson, LMA, Covington, Embiid on FanDuel. Okay, again, I didn't really look at FanDuel. If Covington's cheap, if Brown's cheap, that's fine with me. Not really guys I'm considering on DraftKings, though. I like Chandler Hutchinson, too, with done out. Yeah, Hutchinson's viable. I think I would prefer Satoransky and Thad Young to Hutchinson, but Hutchinson is still in play. White, Lillard, Walker, Levine, Brown, Hutchinson, LMA, Covington, and Embiid. Okay. Levine, 35% GPP. Yeah, I figured he'd be somewhat popular. Let's see. We can go over some other ownership. I'm curious to see what Mo Wagner's ownership is in the $40 single entry. Let's see. Yeah, so Mo Wagner, 13%. Joel Embiid, 33%. That's what I got right now. Murray, Walker, Hayward, LMA, Whiteside, Korkmaz, Gallinari, Embiid, GPP. Again, I don't really see an issue there. I think that's pretty solid. I faded Lonnie. Played one line with Pirtle. My gut call. Thank you, DK. Hey, yeah, if Jakob Pirtle's your gut call, go with it. I don't think he's going to play huge minutes, but he is a guy that, in 15 or so minutes can get you like 20 fancy points. Thank you. Yeah, of course. Incoming big game for Al Horford off the bench. Possibly. I just need to see what his... I don't know what the Philly rotation is going to be like besides, we know Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Tobias are going to play big minutes, but everyone else kind of up in the air, right? Horford can still play 30 minutes off the bench, but we really just don't know. I don't know what Josh Richardson's minutes are going to be like. I want to see what Alec Burks' minutes are going to be like. Korkmaz has been playing well. I just don't know what the minutes are going to be like for those other guys. Embiid, not very high on in GPP. I'm also running back 4 Chicago guys with Beal. Hey, that's fine. You're running a little game stack there. Let's see. Brown, 5,900 on FanDuel. Covington, 6K. Oh, Jaylen Brown, 5,900. Okay, yeah. So Jaylen Brown, 5,900. I like that. Covington at 6K. I mean, I guess he does get a lot of blocks and steals, but I'm not super high on Robert Covington tonight. Tomas, CJ, Gallinari, Aldridge, Whiteside, Murray, Richardson, and B GPP. I like that a lot. I think that's a really solid. Favorite guard, spend up on DK. I don't have an expensive guard right now. I mean, my most expensive guys are Embiid, Aldridge, and Whiteside. If I was going to play an expensive guard, I mean, it probably would be Drew if Ingram's out. If Ingram plays, then that's a tough question. Probably Westbrook or Lillard. I guess Lillard, but it's close. Let's see. There's been a... Hey, DK, you get my address at your Twitter? I don't think so. And I looked in the YouTube comments, too. I haven't seen anything. Eric, what is your Twitter? I can hit you up. Let's see. Westbrook or Lillard? Yeah, that's a really close call, honestly. I'll go Lillard for the slightly better matchup, but it's close. Not confident, but I got Murray, McCollum, Lonnie, Gallo, Zion, Harden, Rui, and Big Steven Adams. You a Blazers fan? I'm not. I am a Pistons fan, unfortunately. Best live before lock show in the biz. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks, man. Really do appreciate that. But yeah, Eric, I believe... Did you win the giveaway? I forget, but if that's the case, hit me up on Twitter. I haven't seen you, or I haven't seen anything yet. You could always give me your Twitter here. I can message you. But, all right, let's see. All right, I am probably going to get out of here, guys. So good luck to everyone tonight. Again, if Ingram gets ruled out, I would probably try to get one of those Pelicans guys in there, whether it be Drew, Lonzo, or Zion. I think those guys would stand out as really solid plays. Clippers starting Lou Williams, Leonard, George, Morris, and Zubac. All right. Well, I'm going to hop out of here, guys. Thanks again for everyone coming to check the live stream. I'll have my video up for tomorrow, slate later tonight. Embiid, sub 25%, J. Rich, 5.5%. I like both those ownerships. But good luck, everyone. Hope you guys all win some good money, and I will see you tomorrow.